Ecuador hasn't actually had any military action for about 20 years since the territorial dispute in Peru and Ecuador. So they've been known as a relatively peaceful country, relatively untouched by the drug trafficking, by the drug war. And so to know exactly what they're going to do is a little bit difficult at this time. They say that they have full support of Juan Manuel Santos, the Colombian president. So I think we also need to look at that and what Colombia is planning to do. The implications on Colombia and Colombia making military strike is actually even more difficult because they are known for this peace process, and them doing this against the FARC rebels or the dissident FARC rebels would put into question a lot of what's happening in this peace process, which I think people are wondering what's going to happen in the next few days.
Regardless of how this plays out, there were pretty strong words from Moreno in terms of what he planned to do if it turned out that these journalists had been killed, which it appears that they have been. Why was he so strong on this?
Yeah, I mean, the border region in the last few weeks, they've had some deadly attacks against soldiers. I think that they're trying to put a stand against what is happening on the border in general. So about 3 weeks ago, 3 soldiers were killed, and then these 2 journalists and driver were kidnapped. So he is trying to make a stand. I think that he's trying to also show his allyship with the Colombian government. Just a few weeks ago, in lieu of what is happening on the region, they took U.S. officials, military officials, to help train and strengthen their military. So they're really taking a stand in that sense and trying to bring in the U.S. government and military officials as well to strengthen. So I think that they're just trying to take a stand on what is happening on the border.
And just finally, what can you tell us about media safety in Ecuador? I believe that these journalists were researching a story about drug trafficking, which is notoriously done along that border region. I mean, how safe are journalists in the country?
You know, I think that's a good question. I think that Ecuador has been relatively untouched by what has been happening in the region. You know, the most dangerous countries are Brazil, Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia for journalists. So it is it's a surprise. It's a surprise for people that is happening in Ecuador. There hasn't been much happening. Media safety is not something that has been really talked about. It's been talked about a lot in these other countries. You know, Mexico is still the most dangerous place in the world for journalists. And so I think that it's taken everyone by surprise, which is probably another reason why Lenin Moreno is trying to take a stand and know that this can't happen in the region.
Thank you for that. That's Julia Muldavin live from Quito.